Still at the Rainhafer family residence, Knox's father and head of the family was shocked because Knox apparently accepted his request to come to dinner here. Knox, with a nervous face, didn't say anything. Talia, who saw the incident, was confused. The head of the family felt everything was here and told everyone to eat. On the dining table, there was beef and other food nearby. Knox started to scoop up the cake with a spoon. Knox was surprised to see the twins gossiping about him. Hatch asked him to make a decision immediately. Hatch asked his father about who would be admitted to a Lydian academy and become a new talent. Her brother's statement made Knox flinch. The head of the family feels that it is time for him to think about and choose who will be admitted to the academy. The Lydian Academy is the most important place in Inner Lunatic. In the story, Inner Lunatic tells the story of cadets who fight demons in various situations. Unexpectedly at the academy, with a nervous face, Knox felt that he had to go there to be close to the main story and recover his memory. Knox feels that as long as it doesn't have an impact on the main story, he intends to find and gather his colleagues. The principal feels that his family members already know, but he wants to explain that there are only 3 invitations given to each family to enter a Lydian academy. The head of the family explained that this was done to protect the academy from the power of the nobles, and previously he had used his 2 invitations for the first son and second son, and the Rainhafer family only had 1 invitation left, previously the first son and the second son. He has entered the Lydian Academy, and there is only 1 ticket left for Knox and his twin brother to compete for. Knox felt that before looking for a partner, he had to get an invitation to enter, which felt more important to him. The head of the family wanted to choose who went to the academy according to the Rainhafer family tradition. Knox felt that his father intended to choose one person by making his child each other, fighting with each other. The head of the family was surprised because he did not expect that his youngest son would speak first. The head of the family agrees that he intends to hold his match next month, and he will decide who will go after seeing his son sparring at the training ground. The twin brother belittles Knox, telling him to give up immediately because there is no hope for him to win because Knox was very weak and had never once held a sword. Talia was surprised by the twins' self-confidence. Knox answered, saying if it was by drinking a glass of wine. He said that it was something normal to say after winning, right? Alan was angry because Knox thought he could beat them. Not intending to listen to their ridiculous opinions, Knox looked at the wine. He thought that this was the only chance for him to enter the academy, and with full confidence he said, if he was the one who was going to enter a Lydian academy. His father was surprised by Knox's sudden statement. His older twin brother was angry at Knox's words. Talia, who heard it, smiled and laughed a little. Talia felt that their youngest sister was very confident, and she felt proud with him. Even though Knox looked normal in his mind, Knox was surprised by Talia's expression and words. Knox felt that he had received attention from someone who shouldn't need Knox to get attention from him. In a mansion, the head of the family in the building was reading documents. The head of the family was listening to Rotwell, and from Rotwell's report, Knox's habits suddenly changed. Rotwell confirmed that his young master's habits had changed. Theo actually thought it was something unbelievable, but when he saw it for himself, Theo felt that Knox's heart had changed. Theo speculated that it was possible that Knox had been possessed by a demon. Although he was not completely sure, Knox's sudden change in habits made him curious. He then called Rotwell, and the head of the family told him to keep an eye on Knox. At the maid's training place, there were looking at and talking about someone. That person was Knox. They didn't expect Knox to go to training again. The maid there didn't think that this was real. One of the maids said that she heard there was a competition next month, and maybe that was why the young master was training, but one of the maids was confused because Knox only ran at the training ground and didn't practice anything else. Knox confused because he could hear their gossip very clearly even though he didn't have the trait for that. Knox didn't care about the gossip and kept running. When he was running, his stamina increased by 0.1 Knox. He was annoyed because it only increased by 0.1. The reason Knox chose to run was because his biggest problem was his physical strength. The requirement to activate sword and martial arts genius was that he had to have physical strength 4. Knox sad because if someone's stamina is not as low as theirs, they will open everything. And one of the reasons it's difficult to develop is because he has the negative trait curse of languishment. Knox stopped running because he was very tired. Knox smiled broadly. He intends to increase his stamina by 1.9 in a month. Curse of languishment is a curse that reduces it by half the user's physical growth. Knox has been running until he felt like he was going to die, but all he got was an increase of 0.1 stamina. And also, the terminally ill also cuts down on Knox's physical growth, which makes him have to try 4 times harder than other people. He is confused by this kind of difficulty. No matter how hard Knox tries, he can only improve to 15 because of Knox's terminally ill trait. Thinking about it later, the sound of a trolley was heard and the trolley was heading towards Knox. What prompted him was Knox. She came to bring the item that his young master asked for yesterday. Knox didn't expect Rona to be more agile than he thought. Knox said that at least she is more useful now. Previously, Knox wasn't too sure he could get 4 stamina, but now he wouldn't have any more problems. Because he already got the 3-headed serpent's poison, fairy's spring water, golem's core, and rapid physical growth scroll. Knox held a potion while saying that he was a pro who used the ancient method. In the sword training ground, Rona was curious as to why the young master needed all this. Rona explained that it was very poisonous, it was difficult to use, and it was a medicine that other people usually avoided, and also the price was very expensive. Rona felt that only scrolls were useful for Knox. Knox said if they avoid it because they don't know how to use it, Rona confused about how to use it. Knox looked at the trolley. He took the 3-headed serpent's poison, and in an instant he drank it all down. His expression was shocked. He told Knox that it was poisonous. Knox felt sick even though he had expected it, but he didn't know the impact. Knox, who was poisoned, looked at ahead. After drinking the 3-headed serpent's poison, the screen said that Knox's stamina had increased by 1.5 temporarily. The countdown for a while appeared to be 10 minutes. Knox held her hand. Rona said she would call the waiter, but Knox told her to wait and Dao started to take other items. Knox took the golem's core and ate it and said it was delicious. Rona panicked as she said that it was not the way to eat the core. Because Knox ate the golem's core, he now entered a hardened state. The system said that the hidden part had opened because the 3-headed serpent's poison and the golem's core had reacted. Knox was happy because the hidden part had opened. With the increasingly lethargic state, he intended to continue. The golem's core could actually make humans harden temporarily to strengthen the user's defense, but this item is usually made to create artificial golems. And if this item is used together with the 3-headed serpent's poison, its special effect can make the curse of language disappear. Knox clenched his fists and thought that this was very good because the curse of language had disappeared. Ron panicked and thought that his young master would immediately die. But Knox felt a bit disappointed because there would no longer be any hidden parts open. On the other hand, Rona was surprised because it turned out that Knox was still alive. Rona blushed and started to close her eyes and was surprised by her young master's sudden behavior. Knox started to unbutton her clothes one by one, making Rona, who saw her, confused. After opening a few buttons, Knox took Fairy's spring water, Rona blushing and surprised by her young master. Knox used Fairy's spring water by pouring it all over her body, because the Fairy's spring water reacts with the golem's core, making the effect of the golem's core disappear. Knox felt that this feeling was very interesting. After the golem's core effect disappears, a secret chip appears which opens. With the opening of the secret chip, Knox is given the Blessed Growth trait for a while. Blessed Growth is a positive trait that can double the user's growth rate until stamina reaches 5. Knox is happy because this was according to his plan. Knox only needed one more step. He took the Rapid Physical Growth scroll. Knox tore the scroll, which gave him a buff which made his stamina growth increase 100%. Knox was thinking that he had gotten rid of the curse of languishment, and with Blessed Growth, he had removed the penalty from terminally ill, which could reduce physical growth as much as 50%, and he has even used scrolls. Knox was happy because as a result his growth was 2 times faster than before. He was excitedly thinking about trying to increase his stamina again. Suddenly Rona hugged him, which made Knox surprised. Rona was worried about Knox. Was he okay? Rona thought when Knox took off his clothes after drinking the poison, he thought his young master was crazy. Knox felt uncomfortable. He told Ron to get a towel for him. Rona looked very worried and sad about the incident. Knox actually felt uncomfortable, but because he managed to lift the curse, he would let it go this time. Knox told Rona that he was fine. Rona asked his young master if he was sure and didn't need to be called butler. Rona also felt that the young master also needed rest. Knox said he was okay. Now Rona was confused and asked what else he needed from him. With a faint smile, Knox told Rona to run with her, back to the training ground again. Knox ran when she was hot, and behind her Rona also ran with her while carrying a towel. Someone from behind the iron bars of the window. The woman was confused by Knox and said why. She was Talia with a sullen face. She was surprised why such a weak child agreed to compete with her siblings. Talia's maid named Emma. The maid told her lady not to underestimate the youngest son of the Rainhafer family. Emma felt that it was really inappropriate. Talia stood up and felt that what she said was not wrong. While stretching her hand, Talia said to Emma that even couldn't hold his sword and all he did was run without a care in the world. Rainhafer soldiers even offered to teach him swordsmanship, But Nox shook his head and rejected the offer. Confidently, Talia felt that next month Nox would definitely be beaten up badly. Talia felt worried because she knew that would happen. She glancing at the iron bar window, she was confused as to why she couldn't stop worrying about it. Talia felt that this shouldn't be happening and started walking out. Emma was surprised by her lady who wanted to go. She asked her lady where she wanted to go. While holding her wooden sword, Talia told Emma that she wanted to go out for a while. Talia came to the practice park. Talia's shadow was visible because of the sunlight. Nox was surprised by Talia, who approached him. Talia, who approached him, started calling him. He introduced her name once again. Her name was Talia. On the outside, Nox looks expressionless, even though in his mind he is confused about why Talia is here. Nox asks her why she is here, and he feels he has heard her name. Talia is surprised and confused by Nox's cold attitude. Talia thinks that Nox might be surprised after seeing her beauty. With shaking hands, she was sure that was the reason. Nox was confused by Talia's behavior. With a blushing face, Talia asked Nox if he was training now because he thought he could beat your brothers. Nox, who heard it, didn't say anything. Talia thought that Nox was just running like that. She thought that Nox wouldn't win. Rona, who heard it too, thinking like that. Talia confidently wanted to offer help to Nox. Nox quickly answered he was grateful, but he was not at all interested and asked Talia to leave. That answer shocked Talia. Talia was angry because Nox had rejected her offer. She panicked because if Nox said something like that, he would be hated by the girls. Talia very angry, she now doesn't care about Nox. She hits Nox and tells him to do as he pleases. Nox, who has a weak body, feels a bit in pain. Nox was confused by Talia Rona's behavior, who was next to him. Thinking that his young master was really evil, Nox looked at him in surprise while wondering what was wrong with him. Out of curiosity, Nox looked at Talia's stats using the inspection skill. Then Nox saw Talia's traits. He was shocked because after Nox looked around, it turned out that Talia had extraordinary talent. In Inner Lunatic, the average adult stamina is only 4, and Talia, who has a stamina of 6, Nox thinks is quite impressive. Nox thinks that even though Talia doesn't have as much potential as 3 Sword Emperors, and not as much potential as the 4 Sages of the continent, Nox thinks that her potential is enough to reach the level beneath them. Nox also felt that she was strong enough to kill 1 or 2 demons, and even more so because of her fire attribute. Talia's fire attribute magic power will later rise as white fire, and with her white fire she will burn Nox, who is turned into a demon, to death. Nox thinks that if he makes Talia his partner now, there will be many events in the future that will happen. Messy. Nox sighed. He thought it made sense to be friends with someone who ultimately killed him. 1 month passed after that incident in the Rainhafer family residence. Talia was walking around looking around. She remembered the incident when she was training in the training hall. At that time, one of the Rainhafer family soldiers praised Talia for being able to understand quickly. That soldier said that Talia deserved to be a member of the Steeliner family. Talia recalled the incident. She wondered what it meant to be a member of the Steeliner family. A woman with sharp eyes glanced down. She was Talia's older sister. She defeated Talia easily, which made Talia fall and break her sword. Remembering the incident, it's embarrassing that Talia is pensive. Talia holds the sword in the scabbard tightly. She wonders whether she deserves to be a knight. Since time immemorial, knights are individuals who are not swayed by greed. They live frugally with one goal, namely sacrificing themselves for justice. Because of this mindset, someone can only become a knight after learning many sword arts and techniques. Remembering that, Talia confused about how Nox can beat his brothers who have trained all their lives just by physical training alone. Talia thought that it was impossible for Nox to beat them. The next day in the hot morning, the match day arrived. Nox was now facing her brother with many servants and maids watching them, and Rotwell, Talia, and the head of the Rainhafer family were watching them. From above, Theo's first wife, Priscilla, also watched the match. A few moments later, the head of the family called Rotwell. He asked Rotwell what he thought about the outcome of this match. Rotwell thought that if they saw what they had often seen before, he thought that young Master Elaine would win. Theo also agreed with Rotwell. Priscilla didn't say anything and remained looking at the match venue. Theo wondered if the head of the family had anticipated a different result. Rotwell believes that even though he knows that Nox has changed a lot, he doesn't get the impression that Nox will win. He feels that it is impossible. In the past, Rotwell once walked the path of a warrior and fought alongside the head of the family. Rotwell thinks that the sword is something that sometimes it's complicated, but sometimes it's the simplest thing in the world. How long a person practices and how long a person appreciates it determines that person's level. And according to Rotwell, there is only one thing that can turn everything around and make a stronger person kneel before you. That is the genius of a different world, like its meaning also means abundant talent. But Rotwell doubts whether Knox was born with such talent. Rotwell looked at the head of the family who thought, "It doesn't mean that Knox doesn't have potential." He told Rotwell not to underestimate the blood of the Rainhafer family in his veins. It's even possible for a brat, namely Knox, to have been born with potential as great as 3 sword emperors. On the other hand, Knox is annoyed because he doesn't have 4 stamina yet, making him unable to unlock the characteristics of swordsmanship and combat genius. Knox was confused by his misfortune even though Knox had high luck. Knox thought about the previous results. The result was that he couldn't succeed in raising his stamina to 4. While he was running, he guessed that his stamina was now at 3.8 now. The color he was at behind him called him. He asked his young master if he should continue running with him. Knox says if she doesn't come with him, who will help him? When he said that he accidentally said the truth when he told her to do it, that was because for him seeing her like that was very pleasing to Rona, who heard her tell her young master that her heart had just come out. Knox gave her a towel, telling Rona to do it. One more task. His young master's order made him annoyed. Knox knew from his expression that Rona was definitely cursing him in his heart. Rona accepted the towel. He reasoned that now she was biting her tongue. Seeing Rona's behavior made him laugh. Knox remembered something. He thought, if you practice this much, Rona's stamina will definitely increase because you are curious about Knox activating the Eye of Discernment skill. He opened Rona's stats. He was surprised by Rona's stamina, which was 4.5. Knox was confused because he didn't expect a maid to be stronger than the average adult. Think a side character has higher stats than him even though he has been training for months. He feels this is unfair. Rona looks confused with Knox's expression. Rona told Knox that it was already evening and tomorrow was the day of the young master's match, so Rona asked he to rest now. Knox was annoyed because the match was about to start even though he didn't have 4 stamina yet. He felt that the time wasn't enough. Come back to now, Alan called Knox. Alan asked Knox to surrender now. Alan thinks that even though Knox is a burden on the family, he is still his little brother, and he asks him to give up because he doesn't want to overdo it. Seeing Alan's face, Knox thinks that Alan definitely doesn't want him to give up. Alan admits this because honestly he wants to look good in front of the young lady, Steeliner's family, and he believed that Knox will help him. Knox is surprised that he is curious and doesn't know if it's a good idea. Alan wonders if Knox might also be interested in Talia. Knox doesn't care about what he says, and he looks at Elaine's stats, seeing his stamina, which is 8. Knox feels that he can't possibly win with normal means. Knox starts making plans while the match judge informs him that the match will start soon. The jury said their names Knox von Rainhafer and Elaine von Rainhafer. He told them to accept the result of this match and not to oppose it. Knox felt nervous because if he lost here, everything would end and it would be impossible for him to get his memory back. Knox wanted to find out who sender of the letter, and even with a year's delay, he felt that his life would end. The thought of it made Knox grip his sword hard. The judge asked them if they were ready, and because they were ready, the judge started the match. Alan immediately attacked first with a vertical attack. Alan attacked him, but Knox managed to avoid it by rolling his body. Alan continued his attack by kicking him. Knox blocked the kick with his sword. The kick launched by Alan made Knox step back and almost leave the arena. While holding his sword, Knox glared at Alan. Alan praised Knox for being able to block his kick well. Alan launched repeated attacks at Knox. Knox felt that he couldn't enter Elydian Academy. While holding back Alan's repeated attacks, Knox added that meant he had to give up everything if he loses here and if he can win then. While he was thinking that, suddenly the system told him that his stamina had increased by 0.1. Seeing that made Knox surprised. Knox smiled. He said that if he wins he can get everything in his grasp. Alan was confused by Knox's words. He thought that his attack might make Knox stupid. Alan carried out another attack thinking that his attack would make Knox aware of Knox and not ready to receive a sudden attack from Alan. Priscilla, the first wife of the head of the family, thought that maybe she was too worried when she heard that the youngest child had changed. Seeing Knox being attacked, Alan, Priscilla have opinion that the last child of the Rainhafer family to enter the Elydian Academy was his son. Theo, who was the head of the family, felt that Knox was very sad. Priscilla looked at Theo, who was watching the match. He thought that in the end this family would also be his. The head of the family said to Rotwell that previously he was really looking forward to his match because he said he had changed, but in the end this was the best for him. Rotwell asked the head of the family, was it necessary for he to stop this match? Rotwell felt that if they didn't stop this match, young Master Knox would need a long time to recover. Alan attacked Knox blindly, asking him if he was tired. Theo thought that Alan and Hearts had pretty good abilities, but not to the level of their raw diamonds are also far behind Garen's first brother. The rule of might of the black sword is a rule that subdues things under his feet and makes his enemies kneel with great strength. Nox looks tired. Theo feels a little impressed with his youngest child. He is curious from whom Nox learned it. The head of the family starts. He stood up and said that the match had to be stopped. But coincidentally, before the match was stopped, his stamina increased by 0.1, which made his stamina become 4. And because now his stamina has 4 characteristics of swordsmanship and combat genius have been unlocked and activated. Nox is happy because who would have thought that luck would be on his part? Seeing Nox smile again made Alan feel that Nox had lost his mind and gone crazy. Nox activated the Genius Time Stream skill, making the head of the family feel the pressure. Nox activated the skill, making a lot of time surround him. Suddenly everything stopped. Nox thought if he had ever heard a saying, that genius people and ordinary people live in different worlds. Nox was surprised because he had never directly experienced using Genius Time Stream skills. Nox said that his skill makes everything appear to move slowly, a skill that makes time move many times slower. The enemy looks slow in contrast to him who looks fast, even though he feels that it is very difficult to use this skill to its full potential. Nox looking at the soaring Alan, he thought that as long as his swordsmanship and combat genius characteristics were active. He looked at Alan's hand and added that if it was confirmed, Nox attacked Alan's sword hilt quickly, which made Alan's hand fly off. Alan was surprised by Nox's attack, which was so fast that he didn't see it. Nox looked at Alan, adding that he was the winner in this matches. Alan's sword fell from his hand. He held his aching hand while glancing sharply at Nox. Nox held his sword. He glanced down while thinking that this was very fun. Alan was confused by what Nox did just now. Nox felt that even though he had gained the ability that he didn't want to be careless, because his skill only lasted 5 minutes, which made him have to end this within that time. Nox said to Alan, pretending that previously he was just playing with him. He said to his brother that now he was bored. Nox told his brothers that now he wanted to end this as soon as possible, so he told them to attack him at the same time. The twin brothers were shocked by Nox's statement. Nox asked his father to allow him to fight his brothers at the same time. Theo was surprised by his youngest child's statement. Rotwell looked at the head of the family. He also felt confused by Nox's request. Talia whispered, confused by what Nox was doing. Theo felt that his youngest child's aura had changed. He thought that maybe there was still something wrong. Nox hides, and now that Theo intends to keep an eye on Nox for longer, the head of the family allows Nox's request. Priscilla wanted to refuse permission, but the head of the family gave a signal to remain silent, and now he immediately started the match. Alan angrily took his sword. Hatch told Nox to get ready. They attacked Nox simultaneously. Nox parried their swords. Alan and Hatch attacked Nox repeatedly, and Nox managed to fend them all off. Alan told his brother to attack him from the left. Hatch, whose self-esteem was damaged, told Alan to be quiet. Nox was attacked repeatedly, and he, without looking tired, managed to fend them all off. When he used his skills, his mastery of underground lower sword art had increased thanks to the Genius Time Stream special effect. Nox was happy as his mastery increased. Now he wanted to try to see their sword swings. Nox responded to their continuous attacks with his own continuous attacks, making one of them feel the impact of his attack. Nox attacked the shoulder of one of his twin brothers, making him feel pain. He touched his hand, which felt pain, and also they looked like they had fatigue, is inversely proportional to Nox, who doesn't look tired at all. Seeing that Talia was surprised by Nox's ability, Nox looked at the twins. Nox guessed their thoughts from their confused expressions. He guessed that now they thought that Nox, who was a disgrace to the family, could change this drastically. The twins looked at each other. Nox told them not to be careless. Nox's words shocked them. Nox continued that they shouldn't be careless in the middle of a match. Nox, who was suddenly in front of them, was shocked. The twin brothers attacked him again blindly, but Nox easily brushed him off. Nox even reversed the situation by making them bounce. Nox thought that even though there was an important issue at stake in this sparring practice, he considered swinging that sword. While continuing his attack, he said that it was fun. Nox's last attack shocked Talia, Rotwell, every maid, and the butler. He even shocked the head of the family. One of the twins said that this was impossible. Alan was made bounced off by Nox's attack. They said damn, they didn't expect to be defeated by Nox. At that moment, coincidentally, the duration of her genius time stream had ended, and with a sigh of relief, Nox felt that with this the match had ended. Priscilla shouted her child's name. She was worried about her child's condition. Knox told the jury because she felt that she had won. It had been determined. Somewhat nervously surprised, he answered, "Of course." The jury said that the winner was Knox von Rainhafer. Hatch still couldn't understand that they were defeated by the trash of the Rainhafer family. Knox dropped his sword because the match was over. His sword bounced because it was made of iron. Even though Theo didn't look smiling, but he felt proud. Knox felt that all this was over. He told his father that he would like to excuse himself. Knox started walking out of the training hall. Talia curiously looked at Knox, who was walking away. With enthusiasm, Talia planned to immediately follow Knox. When he left the training hall, he saw that it was already afternoon. Knox looked tired after that incident. He looked at her hand and saw that there was blood on her hand. Knox felt that he had pushed himself too hard with the duration of his skills. Genius Time Stream skill has a big weakness. If it is used past its time limit, Knox will be affected by the rebound debuff effect. And because of the debuff effect of his skill, Knox's life energy is reduced by 2 days and 17 hours permanently. Knox feels that this is the worst debuff because he can make it with quickly fell ill, plus he was already suffering from a serious illness. Knox was grateful because the effect didn't happen in front of other people, because if even one person found out, Knox thought that his registration at the academy would definitely be cancelled even though he had worked hard. Knox looked behind. He was surprised because he was suddenly called. The person who called him was Talia. He didn't expect Knox to be injured. He asked Knox if he was injured during the sparring practice earlier. Knox felt annoyed because he had been found out. Knox was annoyed because he was caught. Plus, of all people, Talia was the one who found him. Knox thought that no matter what, his father shouldn't know about the side effects of his skills. Knox wanted to make Talia shut up, but when he just wanted to speak, Talia praised him because Knox could defeating her brothers with that body. Knox was amazed by Talia's intentions. With a blushing face, she started playing with her hair. Talia felt that she seemed to have misunderstood Knox. She misunderstood because after 1 month she saw him. Knox never held a sword in his hand at all. On the first day, Knox only swung a few times with bad posture, and how could someone like him be able to win? It's clear that it's because Knox is a talented child. Talia was curious and also wanted to know how Knox developed his talent and how he was able to develop his skills, but during sparring practice when Talia saw him, she was confused by what she saw now. Talia was confused by Knox's condition even though he had previously beaten her brothers with amazing talents. Talia feels that Knox is not a braggart as the rumors say. With feelings of pity, Talia thought that Knox was training hard so she could win at any cost. Talia saw Knox coughing badly. Talia was worried, and she wanted to help Knox, who looked at Talia in surprise. He pushed Talia's hand away. He told Talia not to touch him. Even though in his mind he only had difficulty communicating with other people because previously he had only been in his room for 2 years. Knox also felt that her character was a character who was destined to die from the start. Talia, whose help had been rejected by Knox, played her hand. She said that she only wanted to help Knox. She apologized if she had made him uncomfortable. Knox was confused. He asked what was wrong. Talia said she didn't know that Knox was serious about training his sword skills, even though from what Talia had heard, Knox had a weak body. And Talia thought that was the reason Knox was training her stamina. She apologized for the misunderstanding. Talia felt that Knox must have made a mistake without realizing it by acting like a braggart. She added that her maid Emma said anyone could make a mistake like that. Knox confused about how to repay Talia's kindness because she turns out to be an honest person, like in the Inner Lunatic game. In the game, even though Talia is a child who has a chivalrous nature, she is the daughter of a nobleman who has a good reputation. So it is not easy for her to admit her mistakes in front of other people. Knox tells her that she thinks like that. Knox asks her not to telling no one that his nose was bleeding. Talia seriously accepted his request. Knox felt that now he didn't need to worry about it anymore. Knox walks away telling Talia to keep her promise. Talia feels a feeling of love when she is near Knox, at the head of the family's workplace at night. The head of the family feels that his prediction is correct. He asks Rotwell what he thinks about Knox's talent. Rotwell says that at first he was confused because Knox was just silently receiving attacks. But at his current age, he is sure that young Master Knox is the best child among the children his age. The head of the family told Rotwell that he was also thinking the same thing, but he was not sure. The head of the family believed that Knox was still hiding his talent. The head of the family told Rotwell to monitor Knox's movements, but the head of the family said that he could only monitor what Knox does. Rotwell accepts it and will carry out its duties. Theo is now curious about what Knox can do. While looking at his hand, Theo says whether Knox has the talent to inherit the power of the Black Sword. Theo holds his hand. He tells Rotwell that he doesn't have much time now. He tells Rotwell that now he has an important role. Rotwell was surprised. He told the head of the family that he would do his best. Elsewhere on the same day in Knox's bed, the system informed him that Knox had successfully completed the tutorial quest because he managed to win his first battle. Knox felt that this world was the real world, but he was still confused because the system, like in the game, still existed. There is even a status window that is still there. The system notifies Knox that he will be given a reward. Knox was given 3 stats distribution tickets for free. Knox was happy and thought this was the best. But Knox felt a bit annoyed because previously he had been running for a whole month and only increased his stamina by 2. Knox felt that the system should have given prizes earlier. Knox thought about raising one of his stats. He started to open the status window. Knox started pressing one of the stats and increasing it. Instead of increasing his stamina, he preferred to increase his luck. Knox thought that the reason he chose luck was because it was a statistic that could not be increased by his own efforts, and in the Inner Lunatic game the luck stats were much higher from anything. Knox is now curious to check if this is the same as the Inner Lunatic game. Because he has completed this game 27 times, Knox was given special privileges. He was given 1 gacha trait ticket at random and received 1 skill confirmation ticket. A giant gacha machine suddenly appeared in front of Knox. Knox felt strange when he saw it directly with his own eyes. Knox started turning the gacha button because now he was curious and wanted to see. Knox thought that maybe when he maximized his luck stats there was a 95% chance of him getting intermediate or higher. The gacha machine started spinning and chose what Knox would get. In gachas, gray for low grade, silver for intermediate grade, and gold for high grade, and rainbow colors for highest grade. Knox now wants to get gold or higher. There is a ball coming out of the gacha machine. The ball starts to explode. Knox doesn't look surprised because he has seen this before. Knox is happy because the gacha he got is gold. Knox with excitedly started to open it. Knox got the high-grade power of the supreme trait. Knox was surprised because he didn't expect to get this. Trait information begins to be displayed. The trait effect can reduce the opponent's stats by 20% when the user has lower stats than the opponent. Knox is happy with the traits he got. He didn't expect a debuff skill like this to appear, but currently Knox still has other rewards. The system asks whether Knox wants to use the skill confirmation ticket. Knox has determined the skill that he will get from here, namely one of the hidden pieces that can be obtained from the Rainhafer family, and he also really needs that skill. His father will call his older brothers to the residence, and at that time his skill will be useful there. Knox remembers if Green's older brother will be returning home soon. Green is the second son of the Rainhafer family, and it has been a long time since his graduation at Elydian Academy, and to carry out his obligations as a knight he went on a journey. Knox was dizzy because of the hidden pieces, and now Grin is the one who makes him have to think about it and not be given time to rest, Knox thought. But at least now he doesn't have to worry about Talia anymore. Knox felt that Talia was not someone who would break her promise, and also Knox felt that Talia no longer had a reason to approach him. But in the morning at Rian Hafer's residence, Knox felt uncomfortable with the presence of someone in front of him, because it turned out to be inappropriate. I think Talia will still come to him. Knox asked Talia what was her business coming to him because he felt that his business with Talia was finished. Talia said I in a small voice. Knox was confused about what Talia wanted to say. Talia apparently asked Knox how to get stronger like him.